So today we're going to be reading Joshua chapter 10, verse 25. Then Joshua said to them, "Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus the Lord will do to all your enemies against whom you fight." Okay, so I'm gonna start at the end of this verse. Joshua says, "Thus the Lord will do to all those whom you will fight." So, what is the Lord going to do to your enemies? Well, in the previous verse, in verse 24, I believe, of Joshua chapter 10, it is stated that, "Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings." And they drew near and put their feet on their necks. So God is going to conquer, overthrow, remove all the enemies of Israel. And Joshua is giving the Israelites instructions to not be afraid like they were in the days of Moses, when they spied out the land, when they got scared and ran away. He's telling them now that God has given them a second chance to conquer the land and overthrow their enemies, to be of good courage. He says in verse 25, "Do not be afraid." That's first and foremost. Don't be afraid. And be of good courage. Why not be afraid when you see giants in that land, and when you probably look like your situation is bleak or you are completely outnumbered? Why not be afraid? You don't be afraid as a Christian, because God is in control, because God is more willing and able and will go to war with you. Go to war for you. That the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. And therefore, because the battle is the Lord's, He has the means to overthrow every enemy that comes in your way and that opposes you. This is God's battle. We don't need to fight it. We don't need to be afraid of it, because if God brings you to it, He's going to bring you through it. So we must trust in Him and not be afraid. And therefore, we must be of good courage. Courage is doing that thing which frightens you. That's what you do. These Israelites are standing before their enemies, about to go in and conquer the land. And Joshua instructs them not to be afraid, but trust in the Lord. And also to be of good courage and do that thing which they are afraid to do, because God is going to uphold them. You know, we talk about courage as it pertains to earthly situations, but really, courage is about trusting in a source higher than yourself to compel you to go forth in that mission or that task. The only way I see this, me personally, is by trusting in the Lord as your source and not being afraid and going forth. Still kind of frightened a little bit, but still going forth in faith to do what He has called you to do. We're all, as God's children, tasked with a purpose. And though it might look scary and bigger than us, and maybe even out of our control, God brought you to it, and He's going to bring you through it. That God purposed you to have these things, and He's going to equip you to do these things and strengthen you to go through it. Continuously, in verse 25, He says, "Nor be dismayed," and it goes along with not being afraid. "Be strong and of good courage, for thus the Lord will do to your enemies against whom you fight." This is still another promise. As we trust in God, God would fight for us. We have to show up in order for God to fight. We can't expect God to do everything. We must show our commitment and our trust to Him by showing up to the battle. And God's going to take care of us. Brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you today, whatever you're facing and going through, trust in God. Do not be afraid nor dismayed, and be of good courage, because He will fight for you. Show up in faith and rest on Him, that He is the source of strength and all that we need to get through this thing called life, and on the other side where we are able to spend eternal life in His presence. Thanks for watching. Please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest content. Also, check us out on our website at www.waytruthem.org, or contact us with this email address to connect with us. We are standing ready, willing to pray for you, to believe with you, and to connect with you. Also, check out our book on Amazon called What Do I Do Now? Building a Solid Christian Foundation to help you navigate through the most common questions asked by new and mature believers. May God bless you.